have everyone get seated. We'd like to get this panel started. Well, great. Well, first I want to say good evening and thank you for everyone coming out tonight and coming to BUILDUP's first panel discussion event. What I would like to first do is give the mic to our tag representatives. Let them say a few words.
Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and I'm on the marketing team here at TAG. I'd like to thank you all for coming and we're really excited to be hosting BUILDUP, so thank you all for coming out tonight. Some of you may not have heard of TAG before, so just a quick introduction. We are a social network for meeting new people. We have over 300 million members, so we're pretty big, we're worldwide. People use TAG in over 200 countries. So if you'd like to learn more about us, you can check out our corporate site about.tag.com or come find me after the panel and I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right, thanks.
So once again, thank you for coming out tonight. I'd like to tell you a little bit about BUILDUP. So BUILDUP is a firm focused on inclusion and is also designed to connect, mentor, and educate technology entrepreneurs. We're also dedicated to growing global innovations by bringing innovators together of different backgrounds and experiences, as you'll see tonight. BUILDUP partners are myself, Christian Anderson, Christina Omari, and the one and only Wayne Sutton. We would like to give a really big thank you to our partner and sponsors as well. So Mr. Steve Blank, who wasn't able to make it tonight, and then also Tagged, of course, thank you. Women Who Code, and also PR Summit as well. So follow BUILDUP on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, and hashtag BUILDUPVC, and that will be it. So as we will get things started, here's Wayne.
Hello, everyone. Everybody been networking, talking, and now just got quiet. Everybody's like, all right, chill out, have fun. This is talking about building innovation, have a good time. And hopefully, in the end of the day, you learn something and you're empowered. So my task tonight is to be the moderator of the panel, building innovation. And it's kind of like long, it's like we're talking about wearables, everybody's talking about 24 here, wearables, we're talking about drones, we're talking about, and if people know me or follow me on Facebook, I love drones. I don't own a drone because I know if I get a drone, that's all I will play with is my drone. and Pat is something I don't think is talked about enough in this space. And also, we couldn't have a panel talking about investment and so forth without talking about venture capital and also talking about hardware startups. So I'm really excited about the panelists that we're having tonight. And we'll go, and I'm going to introduce each panelist and let them say a quick short, about them and about their company, and then each panelist is going to have the opportunity to have a seat. So it's kind of like, a 3 to 5 minute show and tell, and then from there I get into the Q&A, and then you can ask questions. I'm pretty sure you have some questions for the panelists, and we'll go from there. We'll do ladies first. So, with that being said, she's up front, center, looking at an iPad. TV Lowe, good friend and founder of EnovationNation, and TV co 35-minute tell a story, and you got to see.
Hi guys, thank you all for coming tonight. I think what Wayne and BUILDUP.vc are doing is really remarkable, especially considering myself being a person who's underrepresented in the Valley. I think it's really, really, really critical to have those opportunities. One of the things that I believe is that skill, ability, and education are universal, but opportunity is not. And so that's one of the things that we really want to overcome, and that's the foundational principles of EnovationNation. Just to give you a bit of background, EnovationNation started in my heart and in my mind as a 4th grader because I shared my idea with a Fortune 50 company. They took it, built a product, and I never received a dime. And I didn't understand as a 4th grader that what really mattered or gave you the currency to be able to participate in an innovative ecosystem was having some intellectual property rights. So as a 4th grader, I made myself a promise that someday I would create a way that ordinary people like the 4th grade me could have these wonderful ideas and be able to own them and and then ultimately find an ecosystem where those ideas can live, thrive, and ultimately be monetized. So that's all about EnovationNation, and I would tell you more about myself, but really I'm not that interesting. It's more exciting for you guys to be here to learn really the value that you're going to get from the panelists tonight.
Awesome. Give it a hand. Next up, friend, investor, somebody who I admire. I don't think he knows this, but yeah, I look up to. I'm glad to meet this gentleman a couple years ago, and he's very wise, and he just brought up Marlon Nichols. Marlon Nichols. Let Marlon come up and tell a little bit about him and his account. He's a company fellow as well.
So yeah, Marlon Nichols, I'm with Intel Capital. For those of you that don't know, Intel Capital is the global equity investing arm of Intel Corporation. We put to work somewhere between $300 to $500 million per year, investing in startups focused on technology. I'm literally focused on the early stage, so I look at a lot of seed and Series A deals, particularly in the space of perceptual computing. Anyone know what perceptual computing is? Okay. Well, it's the human device interface, essentially. So what I'm going after is to create a natural and seamless interaction between devices and humans. So just like we can communicate and it feels natural, you should be able to have that experience with devices. My background, I started off in enterprise software. I was with the early employee with the company based out of Boston, Massachusetts. Helped grow that company and was responsible for launching operations in Europe. Ended up selling that company to SAP. And then I did a stint in management consulting, doing strategy work for media and entertainment companies like McGraw-Hill and Warner Music Group. Fun part of my life. Also an MBA at Cornell. I've been here in the Valley for about 3 years now, and the entire time I've been with Intel. So that's me.
Great. Next, first, who is wearing a wearable device here? Who has a wearable device? Wow, that's like 2%. There'll be more. Okay, regardless, this guy next coming up is Kyle. And I want to keep on saying Kyle Ellicott, but it's not it.
It's okay. You're the first person.
But Kyle is one of the co-founders of Wearable World, and if you don't know, they have a great Wearables accelerator in San Francisco. Got a site conference coming up called BlazeCon that they can tell you about. But Kyle.
Thank you very much, buddy. First off, we have 2 drones in our office, so you can stop by any time and you can control it with Google Glass.
Okay.
And I pay for the property tax
Okay.
and the insurance, so you can break anything you want.
Oh,
So you don't have to worry about your number.
don't find me, I'll be at
So
work.
I've got your back on that. And even though this is being recorded, I hope that doesn't get used for it. Hey guys, I'm Kyle. As Wayne mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CTO of a company called Wearable World. First off, I want to thank you guys very much for the team of BuildUp for inviting me tonight. This is an exciting event. At Wearable World, one of the things that we focus on is the wearable and Internet of Things industry. So here in San Francisco, we have a media and venture company. We work with people like Intel Capital on an investment side of an incubator, where we work with multiple companies twice a year to help drive innovation. So when it comes to innovation tonight, this is what I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. Intel invests in it, I get to work with it. Get to kind of hang out with toys like drones and Google Glass. At the same time, we get to throw conferences and events surrounded by these industries, along with innovation. As Wayne mentioned, we have a large conference coming up in about a week and a half, so June 3rd and 4th, GlazeCon, which is all around the business of wearables. And we're now accepting applications for our next class right now, so if you're interested in wearables or the Internet of Things, feel free to come talk to me, and I've got discount codes for all of you. And this is all just shameless promotion for myself. But yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, been in tech and innovation for a long time as well. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. Next up is a lady who I've seen speak online. Never met in person until a few minutes ago, and but I'm very impressed with her work and her company's work, and not just in terms of just because I like drones, but because of what the company's their goal and passion do in terms of using drones in terms of empowering others for the greater good. And her name is Paola, Santana.
That's right. It's Paola, so you got it right. Hi everybody, I am Paola Santana. I'm co-founder and chief regulatory officer of Matternet. It's a cool startup, Mellow Park. We're hiring a bunch of people, so if you have got the skills and want to do something with us, just ping me. Basically, we are building networks of drones to do autonomous transportation in places with no roads or with very inefficient infrastructure. We started 3 years ago out of NASA Ames in Moffett Field. I could say we are the ones behind the hype in drone transportation when nobody thought it made any sense at all. Our drones fly totally autonomously, and we've done some very cool work with people and organizations that we think it will have a higher impact than just flying drones and playing with them around. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And we have a couple of more than 2 drones, which you cannot control.
I'm so excited that we get to sit next to each other. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So it's super cool. The whole drone hype is super cool, but even cooler is when you take it to a place where there's nothing else and you can see people actually, like receiving goods or getting access to basic health goods and services and other goods that you and I have in a very usual basis, and they just don't. They're not afraid of this technology. They have never seen it before in war, so they're just very excited to see something that they can actually use, operate, and bring benefits to their communities. So that's what we're doing.
Last but not least, Jason couldn't make it tonight. Jason's the CEO and founder of Ellicott. Due to travel, but Jason sent us a great replacement. He said better looking, but that let you spell that out. His name is he's the Chris Kemp, and he's the head of product at August Locks. And August Locks is hardware is a very booming industry right now. Everybody's in the hardware startup. We're talking about hardware drones. So I'll let Chris tell you about himself and about August Locks. It's okay to clap. It's okay to clap.
Thank you, Wayne, and thank you to BUILDUP and TAG for having me here this evening. I hope I'm an acceptable substitute for Jason this evening. But real briefly, August, what we're doing is we're making automatic smart locks for the home. You can think of it kind of like a little robot that fits on the front door of your house, just over the deadbolt, and that way you can use your iPhone or Android phone to walk up to the door, automatically unlock. And you can also invite your friends, family, Airbnb guests, nanny, housemaid, what have you, into your home. And then once they're done with their visit, their access goes away. So you don't have to worry about losing your keys, distributing them, getting them back from people, worrying about people breaking into your house, that kind of thing. So that's what that's what our first product is. We're also looking at other aspects of the connected home space, but that's that. Just a little bit about myself. I started out my career in consulting as well in Boston many years ago, and I spent the last 10 or 15 years here in the Valley, internet product management, Bank of America, eBay, that kind of thing. But in talking with a lot of you and learning more about what BUILDUP does, I find it really interesting because one of my other interests is actually economic development. I spent some time in Jamaica working on a USAID project, working with networks of small farmers, trying to figure out how to use technology to improve their crop yields, their supply chains, and basically improve their ability to have more consistent and higher incomes and sell into resorts in the area. So I'm really interested both in the panel as well as the questions from the audience. I'm really excited about this evening. Thank you.
Great. And we are recording the panel, and so please, panelists, speak up. You two share the mic, and you three, you two share the other mic as well. And the panel is big science. Cool. Awesome. So who has a question for the panelists already? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Well, if you don't have a question, get a question ready. I'm going to jump. I have some questions prepared, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience. And the title of the session, all our sessions as we move forward, is Building Innovation. and so forth. And that's something we're really passionate about. And we feel like, we're about to become this new innovation community now. Technology is not a point where it's like, could be entrepreneur. Let's talk about how can we solve real problems outside of this and mobile apps and so forth. But I would like to ask the panelists in terms of a building mindset. Each of you play a role in that. So how do you come to a building mindset to let you launch a product on your career path?
I think the defining quality, if you will, of a builder. Is that better? Thank you. I think one of the defining qualities of a builder is someone who doesn't live in today. Meaning, if all of your thoughts are about today, then you probably aren't a builder. Builders are people who are constantly thinking about what tomorrow is and what we will make tomorrow be. And so I think that, being a builder, we're a very special group of people. Doesn't mean that, we're better than those who, of course, live in today, but part of what we do at EnovationNation is to help those who do live in today think about tomorrow. And it goes back to what Chris said about, socioeconomics. A lot of times when you are in an environment where you're thinking about eating today, where am I going to sleep tomorrow, there isn't a lot of time that's lended for thinking about tomorrow other than survival. So one of the things that we do at EnovationNation is we work with kids, we work with teenagers, because we want them to start thinking more creatively about their environment. And so we're trying to build another generation of builders. My 8-year-old nephew always tells me, and this is a joke between us, he calls me T. He says, T, why don't you call Elon Musk and tell him I'm a builder like he is? I'm like, yeah, I'll call him tomorrow and tell him exactly what you said. But he already has a mindset that tomorrow is what he makes it and not what everyone tells him that it is. And so I think that ultimately that's what makes a builder. Those are the key qualities of a builder. And building innovation ultimately determines what our tomorrow looks like.
So from an investor standpoint, builders are those that look to make the world a better place. No, seriously. Builders are looking to solve real problems, right? So they're curious, but they're also creative. So they're looking for new ways to fix things that are broken, and that's what I look for in the companies that I invest in. Like, is this something that people actually need, want, and that's what I think separates, I guess, a dreamer from a builder. Because once you tackle something that's real, you can actually get to a true solution and build something. So that's my perspective.
So definitely agree with both the points before, and I think for me and the space that we're in, one of the things I deal with is not just the builders, but also the makers, and that's kind of what a lot of this industry is referred to as. And for me, I always think back when I was a little kid playing with Legos and Lincoln Logs and building things that had no existence at that time. I mean, the Millennium Falcon doesn't exist, so they say. But I was trying to build it with Legos. And when I work with the companies and look at the entrepreneurs who are accepting in, I mean, that's what I look for. I look for that same kind of twinkle or the same kind of vision in their eye. How can I build this? With these pieces, how can I create something? So again, back in creation, being creative is definitely the defining factor of being a builder. And again, living in the future and building something for a better tomorrow.
Personally, I think everybody is a builder. Just that we build things in different ways, and depending on what your context provides to you, you do different things with that. So for example, I'm from the Dominican Republic. I didn't understand entrepreneurship. I didn't understand the word until very recently, maybe 4 years ago. But my mom has always been an entrepreneur. When in Dominican Republic, nobody knew about alternative medicine and alternative ways to not be invasive in the body. My mom set up a whole business around that. And then my whole family did the same. So you see people trying to build stuff, to make stuff, even to think and execute on what their vision is. And that was a different concept of being a builder. Here you come and then you have another set of tools, like you come to San Francisco and everybody's trying to build something. Who here is an entrepreneur? Who has a side project? Who is working with a couple of colleagues on the side, doing something that you're just excited about and has nothing to do with what you studied, with what you're working, or any skills that you have, you're just learning on the way. So I think everybody inherently has this creative spark that you can actually turn into, that you can materialize with the things that you have around. And depending where you live or what's your environment, you can either, push that very hard, or you can just like not even be aware that you can do it. So that's what I think.
Thank you. I would also agree with what's been said so far. I think one other thing that I would talk about is that a builder mentality, I think for me at least, starts out with understanding. Understanding your environment, looking around and seeing and being able to notice and be aware of the problems that exist. I think one of the things at August, for example, was that when we were first getting going, I was thinking, is this kind of a 1% problem? Am I just solving problems for techies with a lot of money who live in Silicon Valley? And in speaking with more and more people out there, what I found, there was a unique segment, particularly amongst women, who were concerned about physical home safety, right? There were many people who would leave the house and like, did I lock the door? I can't remember. Is it locked? Is it not locked? Who is coming in and out of my home, right? And that was actually very, very interesting to me, and that actually gave me a great amount of additional passion for continuing to work on this project and continuing to build it. And I think that's always really, really important. Just having an awareness or sensitivity to what's going on around you, seeing the problem, and then, as everyone has said, anybody can be a builder. At that point, you get the passion, you see what the problem is, and you fight for it.
Awesome, great feedback. I'm gonna jump to some industry questions for each one of you. So we start off with Chris. Connected home is now a buzzword now. Everybody's going to connected home, from whether it's your lock or your refrigerator and other devices, power devices. What is it like, and what are some of the challenges working on a hardware startup versus some of your previous experience? So what do you see different from other software startups?
Sure. I mean, I think in any new industry, there's always the challenge of what is hype, what is reality. Definitely, we've seen it with a lot of different software and things like that, or any company or any place. But in particular, within the connected home, I think the vision of the Jetsons home of the future has been around for decades. Ever since X10 in the 1970s, people were talking about roughly the same vision. You walk inside, the lights automatically turn on, the music turns on, your TV, etc., your housing, heating and cooling, it all just works. And it hasn't. And I think that's one of the huge challenges that continue within the connected home space. There's a lot of promise of different technologies and components that we are using. For instance, our device happens to use Bluetooth Low Energy. We're dependent upon both Google and Apple for providing good software stacks. We're dependent upon TI and Nordic for providing good chips. And everything that they publish, all the devices and things like that, all the software stacks and SDKs, it's always a real challenge to get everything to work together well. And that additional hardware component, that additional real-world aspect, just getting everything working for your own single-point solution is a big enough challenge in and of itself, above and beyond what a typical software startup goes through. But in addition to that, if you want to realize the vision of a connected home where everything just works seamlessly, interoperably, very, very challenging, because everybody else is going through the exact same challenges as well.
Great. So for Paola, in the drone space, can you give us some first a kind of a simple case study in terms of directly like how Matternet works in terms of drone delivery, and then what has been, and you talked about it earlier, but not that, but what has been some of the challenges of raising venture capital for a drone company? Because there's you may know more data than I have, but there's not many drone companies backed by venture capitalists.
Well, everything is a challenge because, so it's not about taking a drone, remote controlling it, delivering something, and post a video, and this is cool, and you get $1 million. So at Matternet, what we're doing is creating the drones, creating ground stations, and a software. And the three components are difficult to build and difficult to coordinate and difficult to roll out. So you have drones that are autonomous, they use GPS and sensors, they can fly 20 kilometers carrying 5 pounds, and they are not only autonomous in the air, but they're also autonomous on the ground. So when they land on a ground station, the ground station can exchange batteries automatically. So if the drone needs to go on and on and on, they just have to stop, drop a battery, take one that is completely charged, and go to the end destination. And then you have the software controlling all the drones, the stack, the batteries, what they're carrying, where they're going, and being able to provide this information in real time to aviation authorities, because you are flying in a segment of airspace that is empty today, but many people will jump in. I mean, you know, they say the day before an idea is a breakthrough, it's just a crazy idea. So nobody thought this would be possible. Now everybody wants to jump in. So, you know, for VCs, hardware is hard. You're saying that you're going to build all these pieces, and they don't like it. They want to see someone who's just doing this piece, or this part, or hardware, or the software. When you say that you have a very aggressive plan to build the next Apple company of the drone space, they don't like it. So you need to really know what you're after. You really need to know what is the DNA that you want to have in a company, why you're going to go on no matter what. And for us, for example, at Matternet, it took us a while to raise. We've raised over $1 million from Andreessen Horowitz and other very, very visionaries, angel investors. But it took a while, and we had to create the market. We had to work with regulators, and we had to work. We are working with engineers that have never built this before, because people say, well, doing drones is easy, but I don't see any autonomous network of drones delivering stuff today. You see? So there is a difference between the Jetsons and yeah, we're just there, and then 30 years go by and the thing is not there, and I don't want to spend 30 years to see this thing, right? So everything is challenging, but you just have to understand how you're going to build the thing, be there for the long run, because it's a long shot, and then go by stages. And then, you know, some people will get it, like everything in life, and some people will not get it. And you need to work with the people who get it, and will try to be on the same side of the table with you.
Awesome.
I'll give you a high five. Everyone clapped. Just to add a little bit to that, one of the things that I think is difficult for investors, and you're probably going to cut me off on this too, but when it comes to hardware in the spaces that the three of us are in right now, it's something that traditionally large companies have always done, and done very well. They build products, yeah, if they're a hardware company. So they've built hardware, they've made a lot of money, they have the manufacturing, the supply chain, they understand it. When it comes to the investors, we're now just getting into that space as entrepreneurs. This is something that investors don't necessarily fully understand. And so it's very difficult for a lot of them. For the three of us right now, you are one of these investors, so maybe you understand completely. But for the three of us, it's been very difficult, I'm sure, when talking to investors, because it's not just about your product. You have manufacturing costs, you have distribution, you have an entire company that you have to build that has so many working pieces, way more than any web app or mobile app has ever had. And again, hardware is hard. Hardware is also a little nerve-wracking for certain investors to get into.
So I'm just going to comment on that. So yeah, I think you're not wrong, right? But you're not all the way right. And a part of the magic is picking the right investor. So you mentioned, some of these older companies that have been hardware developers for a long time. Intel is one of those companies, right? So we understand it. There are other, Sandhill Road VCs that also understand hardware. So I think the first step is to actually find the right audience, right? Obviously, you're not going to go to, I don't want to name any names, but you're not going to go to a venture fund that only invests in mobile. If you're pitching robotics or drones or something like that, you need to go to someone that understands. If they don't understand, then you're gonna spin your wheels teaching them about your business and then hoping that they get it. So instead of doing that, target someone that you know knows your business, and then you're talking to them. Then the conversation is on another level, right? It's like, how much do you how well do you understand the drone business or manufacturing, right? What are your contacts, right? How can you get a product built? Have you built a product before? It becomes things like that versus, well, how does this work? Or what is the revenue? Or what does it cost to get something like this off the ground? Which I'm sure is some of the questions that you guys were having in the early days prior to getting your funding. So pick the right investment.
And I'll totally agree with you on Intel Capital. I mean, there's a few others out there that get it and understand it. And I think more and more investors now are starting to understand the costs that go with it. So I completely agree.
Well, Kyle, on that note, in terms of you guys have a fund, you have an accelerator, you see tons of different wearable companies or in that space. What is the future of wearables? What really, anything you can talk about to share is like, it's more than a pedometer on your arm. And whether is it clothes or where do you see the trend going?
Yeah, so I mean, I can definitely disclose a lot of different things. I think that wearables is now going to be a part of our life as we go forward. And the future with it is it's going to become seamless as opposed to something that's big and bulky. So some of the devices that some people out here might have on feel a little heavy, feel a little new, like they haven't been fully fleshed out. I think when we get down the line here in the next couple of years, and even in the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to start to see more seamless integration of these technologies. So clothing, for instance, I know a number of companies who are working on sensor technology to be integrated throughout our fabrics. So being able to have the same interaction that we have on a watch, or something like the Fitbit or fitness trackers, fully integrated in our shirt, so we can get those same kind of data, same kind of analytics through our clothing. So I think the future for wearables right now is going to be something that's a lot more seamless than it is currently today.
Thanks. Marlon, you are, we have this word now, one of our partners, Christy was talking about earlier today, the unicorn, right? And there's a unicorn startup that's it's the build now, and there's a unicorn founder. And I don't know if have we described venture capital as unicorns, but in terms of being a minority VC, you are a unicorn, you're a rare breed. And so some conversation I had with TV is like, who are the minority VCs and investors? What led you down this path?
What led me down this path? So let's see. Going all the way back to undergrad, I went to Northeastern in Boston, and I studied. I was originally an architecture major. Not sure why. I never drew anything before in my life. Got there and realized that wasn't going to work out. And one of my friends put me onto this thing called technology and business. And there was a major that incorporated both of those, management information systems. So I took a look and tried to see what it was about, and I got interested. As a kid, I had computers, I had video games, so I knew I liked technology, but wasn't sure what it was, and I had no idea what business was. But anyway, took the major, and then after college, I joined this .com consultancy called Breakaway Solutions, and that was really eye-opening because here I was, fresh out of college, and I was consulting to these companies that were just doing this. They had these amazing ideas, and they were building these amazing, we thought at the time, companies. And I just thought, this is super interesting, and I don't have to go and work at like IBM and do this boring 9 to 5. I could actually do stuff that, quote unquote, could change the world, and found that interesting. So then I got out of the consulting thing and I went to a startup, and it was a kind of a boring startup, enterprise software. But still, we were building what I thought was an interesting product and selling it to some really big organizations, and it gave me a thrill. But what I found during my 4 or 5 years in that company was that I got tired of working with the same product. Even though it was a cool product, I got tired of it. And so that told me something about myself. So I love technology. I love being part of the, in that creation circle. I love portions of the operation, but I want more variety. And so to me, that was venture capital. It was, I get to meet some really interesting and smart people every day that are doing some amazing things, and I get to help them build those amazing things, kind of like a coach on the sideline. And I don't have to stay with that same company 5 days a week. I get to go and visit 5 different companies that I'm working with, each day of the week. And so that's how it happened. The path to getting the job, that's a longer conversation and probably not one for this panel.
Yeah. Well, on that note, well, thank you for that. But on that note, working with a lot of companies, if you need to say one piece of advice to say this is something that your pet peeve. I read a post you wrote on picture one time. I'm not sure if that's it, but I told you how to follow you. But pet peeve for all the entrepreneurs saying that, all right, if they can do this one thing and it help them out so much, is it product, is it design, is it the pitching, or is it just being more of a domain expertise in that space? What's your pet peeve as an investor?
So there's no silver bullet. So I'm not going to give you this one thing that you do. If you do it well, then you'll get funding. It doesn't exist. In terms of pet peeve, I don't like to work with entrepreneurs that aren't looking to optimize for the true value of the company for the long term. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was in heavy negotiations with a really smart team. They're building a product in the virtual reality space, and this was just before the whole Facebook Oculus thing happened. We started talking before that happened, and then that happened. And then they started getting a whole lot of interest from a lot of other people, a lot of other VCs. And then they were like, oh, well, we were talking about this valuation, but now, we think it's more around this valuation. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, you're two smart guys. I really like spending time with you. But you've got like 20 different things that you need to achieve in the next 2 years before you can actually command the valuation that you're asking for. And oh, by the way, if you miss some of those milestones, when this round of funding runs out and you need to go raise some more money, you're not going to be able to raise it because you haven't yet actually done the work to command that valuation. And so we both kind of went our separate ways and agreed to come back for their next round if they've made it. But the point is, if you think that you found the investor that's the right partner for you, then think about the things that are going to actually help the company to grow. What value can that investor add outside of the dollars? Is this someone who I respect enough that I'm willing to listen to or take their advice on board? Not necessarily do everything that they suggest, but take it on board. And there are a few other things, but optimize for what's really important and think about growing a large company.
Great, thanks for that. And T, patents, right? I'll be honest. Before I met you, 2012? Yeah, wow. I don't think I've ever come across anybody directly working on a patent startup. I know lawyers, I know other people specialize in patent laws, but never, right? Why now patents? And what has changed in the patent laws to where that you have the vision for EnovationNation that where it's going to impact everybody in this room?
I guess I'll start by telling you guys about the one piece of art that we have hanging on the wall in our office because we don't have any other art. And it says simply that we're not in the legal business, we are in the business of innovation. And so one of the things that we learned, or even that I learned as a fourth grader, is that the biggest barrier between having an idea and then having, you know, the opportunity to build it, to optimize it, as you explained, is access to capital. And as a fourth grader, I had no access to capital. I mean, who was I going to call? You know, I could have called you up, Marlon, and said, you know, hey, I have this fantastic idea that Procter & Gamble thought was pretty cool, so they took it. But, you know, at the time, we were probably playing, you know, Princess Leia and, you know, Luke Skywalker or something, yeah. I'm totally a Star Wars junkie. And so one of the things that I learned early on is that there is a true currency when it comes to innovation. And that currency, as I said in my introduction, that currency is intellectual property ownership. In our business, we're kind of like the top of the funnel for everybody who's sitting to my right. So before they ever show up to a VC, before they actually ever have a product, before any of that, we see them first. So when we're talking about trends of what's happening in technology and what people are thinking forward, we see it first. I can tell you right now, 80% of our customers are in the hardware space, not in software. Sometimes in the Valley, we think it's all about software. It's not at all. Even when we talk about the future of wearables, I think that one of the panelists alluded to the fact that there's a movement into clothing and fiber and, you know, some of the other things in wearables. And we actually saw something come through our platform the other day that I was like, wow, if you guys make this happen, then I'm investing. And I don't have the, you know, the billions of dollars to invest in this. But, you know, I'm saying all of that ultimately to say that the hindrance between having an idea, because we all have great ideas, and actually building those out is getting past those barriers. And what we do at EnovationNation is we're a company that believes in removing barriers between you having an idea and ultimately you having a product. So patents just happens to be the low-hanging target, you know, on our dartboard right now. And it's because the cost of filing a patent, though the USPTO charges very little for the filing fees, the expenses really come in legal fees. And so I know that most entrepreneurs don't have $20,000, you know, to spend on patents. And if you did have $20,000, I'm sure you'd spend it on your product and, you know, not filing patents. But part of the ecosystem that we're in, as of March 16th of 2013, patent laws changed in the US. For the first time since 1790, the United States no longer recognizes the person who creates something first as being the owner of an innovation. That doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is who's the first to publish, either self-publish or publish with the USPTO. And that's the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And so I said there has to be a way that we can leverage that to help people like me own my own technologies. I have probably 10 brilliant ideas a day. We can talk about that too, Marlon, afterwards. And the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I log into my idea vault on EnovationNation and I log every single one of them. Because I know that at some point, you know, I may want to take this and build it out and it's only going to cost me $35 and not $20,000. And so by removing those barriers, we're helping people get to innovation faster, get products to market faster, prove concepts faster. So like Marlon said, when you come to him to pitch, you're not asking for a valuation for something you haven't even had time to prove because you didn't have the capital to do it. So our objective, you know, is simply to remove all those barriers. We are moving and we're actually going to be introducing a new feature. Look out for us. At the end of July, and this feature will help innovators progress on the pipeline or the pathway to getting in front of Marlon or in front of, you know, any investor. But, you know, the important thing is making sure that early on when you're developing and when you're building your ideas that you want to make sure you own your intellectual property. One of our advisors is a professor at Stanford, and she teaches intellectual property. Very, very, very brilliant woman. And one of the things that she said to me is when she moved here to the Valley is that she was really astonished at how many brilliant things are going on here, but how much disregard people have to intellectual property until. And the ultimate until is Apple, Samsung. The ultimate until is, and so before you even get there, It's about owning every step of the way. And so we are kind of the top of the funnel before it ever flows down the road to my right.
Awesome, thanks. At this time, I want to see if any panelists, anybody from the audience have any questions for the panelists? Yeah, come on.
So entrepreneurs often look at regulation as a barrier to innovation. I'm curious, in the hardware space, because obviously we're dealing with things like drones and wearables, and you can often pose a threat, whether it be to health or public safety. What are your thoughts as entrepreneurs on the role that regulation plays?
I'm a lawyer too. So, okay, being a lawyer and then doing entrepreneurship has given me an insight on how you work with the regulator. The regulator, by definition, is not the innovator. So I was studying in Washington, D.C., and then I came here to study here at NASA, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to be in the East Coast or am I going to be in the West Coast? Am I going to be in the team of people that is regulating stuff, or am I going to be in the team of people in the part of the world that is creating stuff? And that gives you perspective. That's number one thing. Once you decide to be in the innovator part, you can spend thousands of dollars trying to fight the regulator, but what you need to do, I think, and from what we've learned at Matternet, are two things. Number one, you either need to create something that will make the past system obsolete. So I don't care about current regulation in the US. I understand it. I know that I cannot fly a drone for commercial operations. If you're a hobbyist, you can use a drone, but I, as a company, cannot do it. And what I do is that I go to the next level. I'm not going to be an operator, and you're not going to be a hobbyist. What does the law say about that? Nothing. So you need to understand what you're doing to take it to the next level. The second thing is that you also need to work with the regulator. You need to give them options, because obviously they are not the ones with the vision. So you go to them and you tell them, we have this technology, everybody wants to own a drone. How are you going to figure it out? They will say, I won't give nobody permission. You say, well, there are 20 companies trying to emerge. It's $28 billion market in the world, and the US is lagging behind. It's going to be your fault. What do you do? So you give them options. We can do this, you can do this, you can do that. And then at the end, they will come back to you. So 3 years ago, we said, you know what? It doesn't make any sense for us to fly. We're small drones. We're talking about less than 1 square meter. It doesn't make any sense for us to fly at 25,000 feet, where the rest of the air traffic is, because it just doesn't make any sense. We don't want to fly where hobbies can fly either, because we don't want to be an obstacle. So we're going to fly in this airspace. They said, no, we want everybody to fly either up or very down, very low. And we said, well, it doesn't make any sense, but we'll meet you down the way. And today, the regulation that is trying to be enacted is to fly at the airspace that we proposed. Why? Because not because I was super smart. It was just because it was the only thing that makes sense. I mean, where else do you want to fly? But things move slowly. So you need to know that, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to understand how to convince them, trying to put the pieces together so your system makes sense. And trying to sell this idea, but it's not going to be like they're on the same page with you.
Trust me, we're operating in a space that attorneys, typically IP attorneys, are afraid. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office are afraid. In fact, we got a phone call from the director of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and his direct question to me was, "Are you guys anti-patent?" And I was like, "No, we're not anti-patent. We're just pro-innovation, and we're pro-kicking anything out of the way that's going to hinder innovation." So, ultimately, you're going to always face, whether it's in hardware or whether it's, doing things that are for the cause of the good of society, you're going to always face those regulations. But you don't want to necessarily break the law, but you can create a new law.
Awesome. Continue. Yeah.
As an entrepreneur and an innovator, what do you choose for your market space? Because I've seen a lot of debate, especially in the wearable section, I imagine in the drone section, that people say a product's only going to survive in the private sector, in the consumer sector, or some people say is going to serve better in the public sector, the military, police, or medical. So what do you choose as a deciding factor when you're taking that first step?
Yeah, so one, I think it depends on the product that you're building. So, if you're building something like, an optics device, so something like Google Glass or heads-up displays, that can go across many sectors. Where do you have the most connections? Where do you have the most experience? Where do you see as a good market fit? If it's something like Google Glass, maybe that makes more sense in the military space rather than the consumer space. Also, where's the education for your consumers? So something like Glass, for instance. The average consumer is still not ready for that. I mean, the perception that it gives, it makes a lot of people very nervous. That's not a market for you. However, in the military, that's something that they could use in a lot of different areas. In enterprise, there's a ton of enterprises that can use it. So again, understanding what your product is and where the market and where the education of the market is definitely going to allow you to have fit. But it's all going to come back to your product and what you're building. If you're going to build an activity tracker, that might not be something you want to go straight into military or enterprise with. Instead, that's going to be something that a consumer will want. And again, price point as well. So is this a product that costs $10 or is this a product that costs $20,000? If you go all the way back to computers, I mean, we're sitting here in the heart of Silicon Valley in San Francisco. When computers first came out, they weren't something that was made for the consumer market. Instead, it was more towards enterprise. Here we are today. We all have them either in our phones sitting next to us or in our bags. We all have mobile laptops in this room as well. So sometimes things change and sometimes it innovates. And that's what you'll find in our space, at least probably in the drones as well, and IoT. It's going to change. You're going to start somewhere and you're going to realize this has multiple applications in different sectors or different markets. So be ready to innovate and change.
I would say start with your strengths, right? So I think in my very first comment, I talked about, I'm losing my train of thought, knowing a space, solving a real problem, or solving a problem. So what was the problem that you set out to solve in the beginning, right? So start there. Then I'd look at your team's background. So is there something in your background that makes you more fitting to target consumers? Or are you more of an enterprise person? And then I'd go back to the problem that you were solving again and say, okay, does this make sense for us? Then after that, I'd poll the market. So there's this thing, voice of the customer. Right? You don't have any customers yet, but you can get a sense of what the needs of your target demographics are. So I would do that. So again, start with a real problem or a problem that you feel that you can solve. Look at the skill set on your team and the experience on your team, and then test it.
To give you an example, so one of our companies actually came out in the consumer space focused on a particular industry, which was music and entertainment. And they did very well in that sector, but realized that was something that they were going to have to only have for a limited amount of time, and we're going to have to expand among them. So they looked at what they had built, and can they turn this into something more, and learned they could actually build a full platform out of it and go into multiple different areas. But music, as was mentioned, music is what they knew and what they knew very well, and understood the market, understood the consumers. So that's where they started, and then now we're moving into multiple other areas. What are you, just out of curiosity, what are you building, or is this just a general question?
I'm working in glass. I've been over at Wearable World a couple of times. I'm interested more in the emergency medicine side of wearables because that's what my background is. And I ask that question because I'm always in a constant debate with people, like where's glass going to succeed, where's it going to fail? Because some people say wearables will never survive in the consumer market. So it's an interesting concept to me.
So I was just about to call it the noise that both of us made on that.
So is this a wearable?
I mean, technically, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, if you...
I mean, look at what we're all wearing. I mean, we're all wearing clothes, we're wearing jewelry of some sort, we're wearing
wearable
watches.
is the future. I mean, some people tell me, like, if you weren't doing drones, what would you be doing? So, maybe 3D printing, because it's another way of Matternet, internet moving stuff, like you dematerialize something and then you materialize it on the other end, or wearables, because, you don't need to have anything handy. You just have it all on you. And it's information, it's gonna be big data with very cool hardware that you won't even notice. Imagine the level of sophistication that needs. It's mind-blowing. I mean, it's very obvious to me.
Yeah, so wearables in the current form factor, I think I agree with the people that you're listening to. I don't think they will survive, right? No one wants to have a watch as a notification that's linked to my phone, that's in my pocket to tell me something I can just pull out my phone and do. But to your point, if it's something that comes natural to me and the technology gets smaller and more durable and all that thing and all those things, then it makes sense, right? It'll start to fill a gap that's there. And as long as the technology is able to do that, it'll survive.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. So I think you were proposing using Google Glass for EMT type services. Yeah, I think the one key thing I would echo what Marlon was saying earlier is find the problem. Right? If you're solving a problem, even the current technology that exists today, if you're solving a problem for existing EMTs, either you're shortening the amount of training that they have to do, or you're providing greater access to additional information on incident or something like that. If you're solving a good problem and you're saving maybe an ambulance company money, pursue it. Right? Really get to know that, right? Because ultimately you will become the expert on that. You don't have to listen to us necessarily for us to comment on where the wearables industry is really going and things like that. It's up to you as the entrepreneur, up to you as the innovator to get on the ground, work with the different ambulance companies that are out there, the EMTs, because you know that space the best and you can understand how to take the existing technology that exists or figure out, do I need to create something new or ask somebody to help me create something new in order to solve that problem.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to do 2 more questions from the audience, Kareem, and 1 more. And then we're going to networking. So, yeah, keep quick.
Yeah, be quick. Can I give a little bit of advice?
No, just your question.
All right, I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah.
You told you exactly right, and there's a solution. The question is, what in the ecosystem as its emerges? Because all these run into areas where you're regulated, partly regulated, highly regulated, and also there's a lot of costs because legacy infrastructure has been built to support the innovation in the space. Most of it is done by large companies who manage the actual risk, the cost, and the interfaces to all people who have risk in this, who have a dog in this fight. What are the pieces you need in the system to make it easier for you to bring this out? And then get to market, like we're using Kickstarter and pre-funding and all like that, just like Apple did to pre-fund. What are the pieces that aren't there? I know some from NASA, so we'll talk about that.
Mike.
Wow. So this is an amazing question. I always think about this. Maybe VCs have a more traditional approach to it, but I'm going to tell you what I think. You can go ahead. Look, all these companies, Google, Apple, all these guys, tell me the latest thing they're innovating. Android, they bought it. All these robotics companies, they bought it. Everything they have today, they have bought it. It has not been created inside. You know why? These big companies cannot innovate. Many people tell me, what are the chances that your company will beat Amazon doing drone delivery? For me, it's a no-brainer. Is Amazon a hardware company? No. What is Amazon's core? What is Amazon's business? Well, they are now doing some hardware, which is sort of good, but they're not a robotics company. How can it be that they will beat me, that I have very little overhead, a group of very tight people doing the same thing over and over and over again? That's number one. Number two, they're not my competition. They're my clients. They want to do the service, so I'm going to sell them the drones, all the drones they want. So maybe one day they want to buy me, and maybe if I like them more, I will sell the company to them. But the reality is that these companies do not innovate. And on the regulatory side, I'm going to put you an example. In 2012, that was an elections year, Congress get their thing together to pass a law mandating the aviation authorities to integrate all the drones in the skies. Imagine what that tells you. Republicans and Democrats put their thing together to say, this is a new industry, we're in recession, and we want this industry to bloom in the US. So, you know, you just have to understand all the things that are happening and put yourself in a good position, because innovation is not going to come from big companies. And, you know, you, by definition, just like you said, you are an entrepreneur, you are thinking on a problem. Nobody understands this problem better than you, not even a VC. The thing is that maybe you cannot articulate it, maybe you haven't found the market, maybe you haven't connected the dots, maybe you don't have the network, and this is what you need to work on.
You also have, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. One point, the difference between you and a corporation, the corporation has internal politics, internal regulations. So they have another level of that before you get to any kind of governmental. As an entrepreneur, you should be pushing and pushing and pushing, building and building and building, and not stopping, because, and not comparing yourself to a corporation. You don't have the same governance they have. You don't have the same issues they have.
I'm on the angel side. I'm just trying to see systemically with the problem.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's, you know, some people look to corporations and why they can't innovate. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, they're huge. That's why they buy things, because it's quick and it's easy. But yeah, as an entrepreneur, never compare yourself to a corporation, even though you're an angel. Just saying.
I'll second or third that. Bureaucracy is the killer for innovation inside of corporations. Before doing this, I was a corporate entrepreneur. So I know vividly how they spent billions and billions of dollars to get nowhere. And so quickly, you know, a person like me, I'm very frustrated with inefficiency. So it drove me to ultimately do what I'm doing now. But what I'll tell you is, 2 years ago I had a conversation, I won't name names with who the person was, but someone who has a sizable interest in Apple. And we were having this conversation about where Apple is on the S-curve. Where is Google on the innovation S-curve? And I started telling them, you know, no, I know you guys think that these guys are here, but they're really here. And they were like, well, you can't prove that. I was like, yeah, I can. So I pulled out, you know, some statistics that I used as a corporate entrepreneur to say, this is a healthy company, this isn't, you know. And so, of course, 18 months later, we started seeing, you know, stock prices tank. People started saying, what's going on at Apple? And I'm like, I was telling you guys this 2 years ago. But it's because these are iconic brands. And as entrepreneurs, we looked at them as being the goal that we're all trying to achieve. But ultimately, how they got where they were was they usurped something that already existed. And so what we're doing as innovators, our objective is to usurp everything around us. And so when our customers come to us, and I probably take as many customer service calls as my customer service team, simply because I like talking to our customers. And when I talk to them and I hear their ideas, I'm going, wow, you know, if Apple even knew that people were thinking about this, not even building, but just thinking about this, they would realize how far behind they really are. And so the power to make the world be different doesn't lie inside a big corporation. It lies inside of the Nikola Teslas, who challenge the systems that exist as they are, regulation or not, good or bad. We push against what the establishment says is the norm to create our own tomorrow. And so I agree with Paola, is that right, Paola? I agree with her that your competition is not Apple, your competition is not Google, your competition is the startup who's working beside you. That's who you're competing against, not these big guys. They're sleeping giants. Don't worry.
Cool. Well, we're gonna get into it.
I heard your question a little bit differently. So cut me off if I'm wrong. But I think what you were asking is for entrepreneurs, what are the barriers to them actually getting to market?
That we can help move out.
Right. So my answer to that is, well, one, it's always access to capital, and the biggest issue with access to capital is your network, right? So VCs generally, we invest in people that we know or that come well recommended. So to the extent that we can have, you know, organizations like Code 2040 or you know, the Kapora Foundation, what they're doing with I forgot the name of the actual program.
Little things.
level playing field, introducing, minorities, women, lower income folks to that network. And when you do have that idea and you put some work behind it, you now have someone that you can reach out to get that introduction to the capital.
But I mean, here's the question. We're going to cut down. Thank you. We can talk that as well. I'm going to fire last question, and then we'll get back to networking, social, and so forth. And we're talking about innovation. So, quick question for everybody. What's the one product you wish that existed today that does not exist?
I absolutely know this because I say it about 50 times a day, so I'll give you guys this one for free, whoever, go ahead. No, seriously, I'm always thinking like, I can't type as fast as my brain moves in thought process. I can't text as fast as my mind thinks of things. And I'm like, I should be able to record my thought the second I have it. And so whoever does that, let me know, I'm on board.
My reading to the digital. Right?
Yes, I mean just.
Yes, I'm with you.
Right there.
Yeah. It should exist. It's 2014. My thing is, we 6 years away from 2020. We 6 years away. When I grew up, 2020 we was flying cars, robotics. So like, what big raise innovation? So
I just knew I'd be living on Mars in 2014. Yeah. I did.
Yeah. Marlon?
It's related. For me, it's Minority Report. It's iRobot. It's all those things. It's wearing. It's thinking about Google Glass, for instance, right? It's wearing a pair of glasses on my face that is a full-blown computer that's interacting directly with my brain, that doesn't require any other peripherals, and just allows me to do everything that I would do during the day, whether I'm sitting at my desk in front of my computer today, or if I'm walking down the street, if I'm shopping, I'm doing whatever. That to me, that's the next big thing.
And that's the glass computer, full blown.
I have a name for it too, whoever's going to call it Scribe. Because back in the day, the smart people had scribes who wrote down everything they thought and said. So
I think for me, it's not to sound cheesy, but the Iron Man suit. I would love that. But in all actuality, I mean, AI is a whole world that we're getting deeper into. But the Jarvis system from Iron Man, being able to know everything. I mean, Siri is one thing, but being able to have what Disney created in Jarvis in those movies would be amazing.
Yeah.
For me, it's autonomous flying cars, but not to do trivial stuff. Like I'm talking about,
barrel rolls.
No, I know. Imagine a bubble. You get into the bubble. You don't have to worry about anything because you know where you're going. It's sync with your calendar. Know where you're going, maps, Google Earth, whatever. And if you want to go to the moon just for a ride, I mean, you can just go to it because, I mean, we've been in the moon since 1960s. What else?
Yeah.
What else would this? I mean, when is everybody going to go to the moon?
Great point.
Doesn't make any sense. No, it's not going. It's like, when are we actually going?
Right?
Yeah, like, 50 years in the same thing. I want to be there.
Right.
I mean, why is, 3 people there and they're heroes? What about me? So I think we all deserve, spatial exploration. It's normal to me. So I think that should exist. And, you can go in your autonomous flying car. You don't need to worry about coordinates or anything.
I'm with you. And I wonder why can't, I'm going to be really disappointed in my lifetime that if I just can't hop on a car or a plane or whatever, we can just go to Mars today, come back, I want teleportation. We're talking about innovation and this stuff. Like literally, artificial intelligence, hardware suits, reading your mind. There's people actually working on this. You be laughing. And people really working on this right now.
Yes.
But it's just a matter of it's not ready, and we're not ready in a sense. Chris?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up with both parents being educators, and I love learning, right? But these days, there's just so much information out there, and it's just only increasing. Like all of our wearable devices, IoT things, are just going to be throwing off data left and right. I would love to have something that just helps me sort through all of that. I mean, that proposal, that idea has been out there a lot, but it's just not there yet. And maybe it's the Jarvis-like system that's almost like a virtual butler. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to be able to continue learning throughout the rest of my life and not have to sort through just the tremendous quantities of, crap that is also out there.
I know what you want. You want the latest jack. Plug in.
Yes.
Like, I want to learn jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Give me, tackles one-on-one. Like, yeah. I'll wait till. All right, guys. Give our parents a hand.
We don't get to talk anymore?
No, we don't. Another round of applause for our amazing panel. Thank you all once again for coming out for BuildUp's first event, and I know you all appreciated the panel as much as I did. But at BuildUp, ultimately, we want to support, train and educate technology entrepreneurs, and we can't do that without community. And tonight was really the beginning of that. So thank you for being a part of our community. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And please do stay and network. Get to know all the people in this room. Please get to know our panelists, because I think we all want to be here to support each other. So thank you again for coming out, and please stay with us for networking. Thank you.